Hi horse fans, Rick Tyler here. Been a while since I did the last video. I was on a show at Decoy Lakes the other day and a bloke was saying they originally hadn't bought the Octbox because of weight, and he just was under the impression it was quite heavy, and in the end he'd bought a MAP H30, and he even when I said, well, we're looking about 14.5 kilo for the Octbox, which is about 4 and 5 kilos lighter than the Preston Carbon box, that really expensive box he bought out a few years ago, and certainly 2 or 3 kilos lighter than the majority on the market, and certainly 5 or 6 kilos lighter than some of the heavier models on the market. But there are 1 or 2 boxes out there that might be 1 or 2 kilos lighter. You can't get much lighter with a footplate, otherwise you start to lose structural integrity, and then what's the point of having the box? But then came to the point where when I talked about how far you're having to carry your box, and he says, well, I don't carry the box, I put it on a wheelbarrow, which is steel, which weighs about 17 kilos, which I couldn't get my head around that logic. That seemed a bit mental to me. So we're buying a box based on weight to put on a barrow that's already heavier than a lot of the other boxes on the market. But what I wanted to show you today was, if you have a bad back, you are frail, disabled or whatever, this is the wrong way to lift it into the car in one unit. The reason being, when I've got all my tackle in my drawers, and what I'm going to do in a minute as well is I'm going to put this lot on the scales. So this is the right way. I'm going to lift that in first, and then I'm going to lift the drawers on. That means whatever stack system I've got, whatever weight I've got, how long did that take? And I'm now going to take you to the scales and show you what that box weighs, with and without the mud feet, with or without certain screws and bolts removed, just to show you, if you don't need some tackle on a box, then take it off. Just the bolts on an Octbox add up to 1 kilogram. What did the mud feet weigh, Spud?
Half a kilo.
The mud feet, if we remove the plastic mud feet, and 90% of the time, you're not going to need the mud feet. You take half a kilo, that's £1 off the box. And that's okay, it's only £1, but this pound here, pound there, all of a sudden it starts to build up. So what we'll do now, we'll get the camera over to the scales and I'll just show you the differences on the weights we're talking about.
Go.
So these are calibrated warehouse scales. Now, anyone that is weighing less than 18 stone, you do not need the middle legs. So I have removed the middle legs. I've also removed the mud feet. Okay, if I put that box on, in fact, let me turn the scales on. So these are scales that are calibrated because we use them for when we're sending stuff through customs abroad. Okay, so these are bang on. So that is 14.4 kilos. With the mud feet removed. If I take the mud feet, 6 of them, the 6 bolts, and I add them, I take the weight to 15 kilos. Just something to be aware of. But that's not the main point I want to get over here. If I now take the drawers off, I'm down to 9.5 kilos, which means this is 5 kilos. Or if I've got 2 drawers set up with all my stuff in, probably 8 or 9 kilos. That is my point where, why would you want to lift one big heavy lump when it takes seconds to lift 2 others? So that's my point today. And then what I would also say is, if you're not using these posts, remove them. I'm now down to 14.2. So you could strip this down to an immense, just by taking bolts off, Yeah. But the other issue that I couldn't get my head around was if I wanted to use this as a wheelbarrow, and let's face it, who carries their gear around now on their back when you consider you're going to have a holder with some nets and something else in it and your bait? So most people use a wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow just clips into the front of this with two handles at the very minimalistic. And if you're going at this, you're looking at every gram to talk about with the kilo or that. You're not taking mountains of gear, and that has got to be a simple way. So I appreciate everyone in the Octbox audience. You already know this, but there's obviously a lot of people outside the Octbox world that still really defy logic, and I don't know how to get my message across, but hopefully some of those guys will see this video and get some logic of what I'm trying to say. So hopefully someone found it useful. Till the next video, tight lines.